Hello and welcome back to Where Wub, a Universes podcast with myself, Ryan Levine, and Calvin Harrigal, aka Wub. As you can see, today is a mini episode, episode 13.5. It is just us two. We will be giving a PAX Unplugged and Guilty Gear rundown. Mitchell is still in Scotland for Glasgow.
He's on vacation.
Yes, and just Wub and I went to PAX Unplugged, so we wanted to do a small recap of just that. All four of us will be back next week with Glasgow and other goings-ons, but this is just the PAX and Guilty Gear pre-release adjacent episode. So yeah, we played a bunch of Riftbound stuff in the morning and evening at PAX, or morning and midday at PAX, and then in the evening we played both of the Guilty Gear pre-releases that they had at the event. So I think we both enjoyed it. Like I do want to talk about the event itself, and also first let's just talk about the Guilty Gear set. Now that we've had everything, or we've seen everything, we have some cards. We haven't played a lot of Guilty Gear Constructed, but we've now both played 5-6 rounds of sealed play with the Guilty Gear cards. Do you think it lived up to the expectations that we had for it earlier in the reveal season? When we were saying it was our favorite set of the year, do you still feel that way now the cards are in your hand?
So I think we can wax quite a bit about the sealed environment. I think the sealed environment, this is the first time, I think, ever for me in this game that I've been like, the sealed rocks. Genuinely. It is everything we could want. And there are a couple reasons why that I think we'll get into. We have not played a ton with them from a constructed standpoint. And I do think, by and large, a lot of these cards probably will be ignored for constructed. However, the ones that aren't going to be, I think we will see a lot. They're like spam foundations and things that will end up being staples. Characters, who knows, really. It's kind of up to balance and what's good at the time, but overall, I think yes, and I think especially for sealed, I think sealed was we'll get into it, but it is great, genuinely.
Yeah, when I opened my first pack, so for those of you that have not opened a pack of Guilty Gear yet, I'm sorry that I will maybe be ruining this surprise. It's not a surprise, it was all public knowledge. I opened a pack, my first pack, and every common was a foundation, the character in the middle. Every uncommon was an attack, and I couldn't believe what I was holding in my hands. I guess I just didn't pay attention to the rarity of any of the cards during the reveals. Yeah, and I just really didn't, because the rarity of a card, if you're under the assumption of I'm mostly playing online and then I just need to buy the cards I'm going to play in my deck before the event, the rarity of the card is largely irrelevant from that perspective. Analyzing a card of its utility and power level, the rarity is irrelevant. So I just never really paid attention that every single foundation was a common and every single attack was an uncommon. I just didn't notice. And what that means is, unlike the previous sealed plays, I remember I didn't post about this. I only posted about this once or twice, but I was really, really, really disappointed with the TMNT sealed, because the ratio of attacks and foundations in that set, I think we talked about it. The ratio of foundation and attacks in every set isn't quite conducive to sealed play, but for TMNT especially, the dial was turned just a couple percentages in the attack direction, and you pretty much just had to play every foundation that was in your packs, because there were some packs you would open where you had more attacks in your booster pack than foundations. That was how bad the ratios were in that set for sealed specifically. And on the one hand, this is not a game designed for sealed play. That much has been incredibly self-evident in how it's been handled the last 2 years. Yes. On the other hand, allegedly the company at some points pretended it was, right? Not to throw shade, but I do still fairly frequently think about the article where they said they were going, because for those who don't remember, last year we were supposed to have draft in our regional main events, and then everybody pushed back on that so hard. The tournament structure was so illogical, and it was like you could go like 3-1 and then just like be eliminated because you'd switch it, because it would switch to draft or like something insane, something crazy. And then eventually they're like, okay, yeah, that's weird, whatever. And then in the article they said something along the lines of like, we understand people are pushing back on draft, but like we just think draft is so cool because we're testing future sets designed for draft, and like it's just so cool. And then every single set that's come out since then, we've literally made the joke like, is this the really good for draft set that
Yes.
and like this could be, if like I doubt
This could be what they're talking
yeah,
about.
like
Yeah.
I doubt this set was designed by March 2024, but like maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. So like I something that people who have watched more of the podcast might have noticed or something is that I just completely ignore the sealed experience generally. I think it's pointless. I think that we for the longest time have just kind of like done this pretend thing to get the cards early, like haha, let's move them around. None of it matters. The prizing isn't worth the effort of like looking into it further. I think the experience didn't really matter or anything like that because 99% of the time you're just playing constructed. Coming out of this weekend, the first things I'm talking about are Guilty Gear sealed. That should really indicate something. Like this is good. It actually works. You open your 6 packs and it's like you have slightly over the number of playable attacks. You have loads of spam. You actually don't need to run all of your spam. I think every other time that I've like used a pre-release kit, the rule is grab every 1 and 0 you have because you must run them. And it's like this could be workable in the future if they keep doing this, if they keep ratios in this like setup and everything. And something else I want to mention about the sealed experience is cards in this set do really well at dealing with other cards in the set. There's like a whole bunch of like weird one diff cancels and stuff that interact really well with particular aspects of tension. And it's sick. Like it's genuinely great. Like you can tell the design, like there was intent behind this
It was
design.
deliberate. It was very deliberate
Yes,
design.
for sure. And like it works. Like all I can say is give sealed a shot, when it shows up in the US. Haha. But like really though.
Yeah, and something also, and again, this is something like every single time that I've seen the marketing for Guilty Gear and they've pushed it as the Blitz box and like a different product, I have rolled my eyes of just been like, what? That's just nothing. It's just the boxes are smaller. Like literally, what does that even mean? You can 100%, and not only you can, I will do this. You can crack a Blitz box of 12 packs, take 6, give someone else 6, and make decks and play, and just play sealed. And
it'll be good.
And it will be good. And I'm going to do that. Like I want to do that. I think that would be fun to do. I enjoyed playing the sealed, and I want to play more. Maybe for like actual benefit, I got to play it as the scheduled pre-release at PAX, and now since the US pre-releases were delayed a week, I actually get to go play the pre-release at my locals next week, which I wasn't expecting. So I am going to. I just think the sealed play experience for Guilty Gear, all in all, I will say it was not 10 out of 10 absolutely. I mean, actually, okay, it was not like 100 points out of 100. I would give it like a 95, actually. Like, I'd give it like a 95 out of 100.
Sure, yeah.
Compared to every other sealed play experience we've had, this one blows it out of the water to such a drastic degree. The only complaint that I have with it really at all is just the tournament structure of, I think best of one makes sense. I don't have a problem with that. I wish it was like 40-minute best of one, not 30-minute best of one. If only because a lot of the Guilty Gear attacks, and this could be adjusted in the future, but a lot of the Guilty Gear attacks have really low printed damage, and almost none of the Guilty Gear characters give damage. And if you don't pull a high rarity card that can kill your opponent, you are playing Death by 1,000 Cuts. And that's fine. I actually like the game that way. Like, it was fun, and it was very, very back and forth, and there was a lot of interaction, and you get to use your Roman cancel abilities a million times a game, and that was really cool. But you will go to time sometimes, just because, not because anybody's playing slow, but just because the attacks all have 3 damage and 4 damage printed. And
yes,
that, and that's it. And like, none of them have powerful. I don't think a single attack in this. None of the attacks I pulled in either one I had powerful.
They might not have EX or powerful.
Yeah,
honestly.
one of them, the Nagoriyuki attack, can gain EX, but it doesn't have it. And then I don't think anything has powerful. So
the May Ultra Rare has powerful 2.
It's powerful.
The teaming.
Okay.
And Deus Ex Machina has EX3. Those are the only ones.
Sure. Okay. Well, and yeah, you're probably not playing Great Yamada Attack in Sealed because you probably don't have enough allies to make that even a little bit workable. But yeah, so maybe you are. But yeah, so that was the biggest thing, is like, in Sealed, because this set, how do I put this? Because this set is good, there were no throwaway vanilla attacks with powerful 3 that like you kind of need for Sealed. But at the same time, if they had a tension move if there was an attack that was just tension and then had like powerful 2, I don't even think that card would be bad. Like, in Sealed, it would be a great card. In Constructed, I think someone would play it for some specific reason. Like, there would be decks that would want that, actually. If it had a good block mod, I could see that card actually being played as well, like, in some capacity. Yeah. So yeah, that is the only blemish I think I have on this. And again, when you're just playing with your friend, not in a tournament environment, and you don't have a strict 30-minute time limit, also, that complaint is gone. That doesn't exist, right? It's just that from a like tournament perspective, like, I was playing Kai, my opponent was playing Nagoriyuki. He identified that he's not going to pay 10, and if he doesn't pay 10, I'm probably not killing him. But if he doesn't get his 4th counter, he's never clicking his enhance ever again. He's probably not killing me. And we just sat there looking at each other for 35 minutes, know, and like, that's fine. But like, that's what's going to happen is, eventually there would have to be a conclusion, but it's not going to happen, feasibly in that time limit. So, yeah, that's basically...
there are a couple like stinky cards. Like, we roll our eyes when we pull Potemkin Busker because we don't want to play with the 2.
And I pulled it twice. I pulled Potemkin Buster both times. Yeah, that was a big one. I think that's also, I just don't think that card's good in general. And I was like even more upset to see it twice. Yeah. I pulled it twice. I pulled it in both of my sealed pods and pulled it in my prize pack and was like, how do I escape from you? How do I escape?
I put my heart and soul into trying to draw 2 with Ride the Lightning, and I think that card is just not good. So, I was really trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the flip side, though, Tyrant Rave was checked multiple times, committing 0 cards because of mechanics in the set, etc., and looked very good every time it was played. So
yeah, and that's what I mean is like if you have, and this is kind of how I felt in playing other sealed experiences as well. My other personal favorite sealed that I've played, I think, was Girl Power, because I think quite a few of the Girl Power characters were very versatile. Like, I think I played 2 or 3 Girl Power sealeds, and I want to say I played Pony and Kendo, and those characters were very, very good for like good fundamental back and forth universes, right? Like, if you're playing Pony in a sealed environment where you don't have any of the bing bongs, you are just changing zones, minusing speed. Like, I don't even think I cleared a card pool once. I think it was really just like drawing some cards, like filtering cards, changing zones, and minusing speed or whatever. And then Kendo was just an 8-hander. Like, I think I treated it literally as a vanilla 8-hander. Like, I probably gave stun to like 2 or 3 moves because in sealed you don't have enough mids. That was also good enough, right? Like, I was just playing a vanilla 8-hand size character against my opponent's, woman deck, their sealed woman deck, so pretty good 5-hander for sealed, I don't think has a chance against the vanilla 8-hander, honestly, if you know what you're doing. So
I think something else that like one of the downsides of having an 80 card set is like when you open 6 packs and play against each other with 6 packs, like sometimes your decks will look pretty samey,
they will look
like
very similar, yeah.
but an upside of that is these like keyword matters characters and stuff and like synergy pieces, you're more likely to see those too. So like the 2 times I pulled Kai, I played him at both. I would go through and I would have like 11, 12 of my 16 attacks would have a Kai keyword, you know. And like that is really nice to like not have a blank character. I'm sure is it May's allies matter. No, she isn't. That part actually is not allies at all. Yeah, Happy Chaos is ranged. Like just I think that's a set size thing where, TMNT or I think Exandria was miserable when I played that sealed because like I would look at my characters and look at the cards I pulled and be like, I can't create any interactions here at all.
Exandria,
Because they're all trying to do these weird things with each other and like none of them interact.
Yeah.
I had 0 cards to build with Pumat, for
did
example.
not love. Yes, I think Exandria sealed was probably my least. No, AOT1 was my least favorite sealed by a mile. And I think that's just because so many of the cards you pulled were like unplayable 7 diffs or like 8 diff 4-check vanillas. And you're like,
yeah, they handed you a 9 diff to play.
I can't do that. Like I can't make a mono 4-check deck where this is justifiable because I didn't pick the cards that were in my booster packs. So
yeah, the pre-release card was a 9-3. So
yes,
or it was a 9-4, but yeah.
Yeah, AOT1 I think had the worst sealed experience. I'm actually not going to say I think. For me, definitively, AOT1 was the worst sealed play experience. A lot of the cards just do nothing, and the ones that do anything cost 10, and you can't play them. So it really felt like extremely, extremely high variance where somebody would shrug and be like, this is literally the only card I can legally play, and they'd play like a 7 diff attack that barely does anything, and then sometimes they'd check a 3, and then they'd be like, okay. And that was it. And that was the AOT1 thing. AOT2 felt better. Yeah. If only because it was it was right after AOT1 that when I played like what was just okay sealed play, I was like literally like, well, I'm only getting stabbed by 1 sword, but that guy over there playing AOT1, like that guy's getting shot in the head, like, so this isn't so bad, but this is this was definitely something that I would come back to on purpose.
Yeah. And like the tension mechanic just it's so great in sealed because it fixes so many problems sealed decks can have of like not being able to survive a big dunk. Like you can hold your attention for that. Your opponent can respect that and build pass. Like the clearing on block, it gets momentum. It gets rid of your momentum so that you don't like have attacks stuck there and run out of attacks in a sealed environment. Like there's just so many positives. And it also like teaches you the tension mechanics that when we go to constructed and sit down and our opponent uses it, you hopefully don't need to read the Roman cancel token if you've played enough sealed. Like you're used to it, So I don't know. It's great. I would agree with you. I think it's genuinely very close to like 100% of what we would want from this. And I unironically would not hate playing in a sealed environment competitively. Like if it were this set.
Yeah. So the caveats for if there was actual prizing on the line or it was like a premier event, the caveat I would add to that is there would need to be some sort of measure taken to make sure people can't just bring their own cards. I know that like some totally. But other games have many different measures of doing that. So obviously we can copy someone's homework, right? Like it doesn't matter. We either do you either stamp the packs or you do what Yu-Gi-Oh did one a while ago where it wasn't like, I don't know exactly the process of how it even worked, but it was like you were not given sealed packs. You were given the contents of 6 open packs and the contents were written down and it had like a serial number and that like serial number was like linked to your ID. So they knew what your card pool was. I don't know exactly the logistics of doing that. That one seems way more complicated and less efficient than just doing stamped packs. But anyways, yeah, just doing the stamped ones. But I would say making a deck out of 6 sealed packs is still a bit limiting. And
Yes.
for something that had that much on the line, I would say like 8 packs would be my ideal number of you get a little more leeway on you hopefully are not putting any cards in your deck that is just these are absolutely deplorable cards and that is my 40th card that must be in my deck and I just hope I don't draw. But
Yeah,
still,
it might up the number of characters you have. I think
yes.
one of my sealed, I only had 3 choices for characters, and like that wasn't great. And had it been certain characters, I would have probably not enjoyed that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you add a couple extra packs, you're just getting a little bit more options. So I would say if we did some sort of like, I would be interested in doing some sort of like, 8 pack, like still same deck size requirement rules, but you get 8 booster packs to open instead of 6, just so there's a little bit more wiggle room. And yeah,
This is assuming the future sets sort of follow this, which they might not.
yes,
But
and if the and I am dreading playing a Godzilla sealed and opening a pack and it not being this and me just being like we literally solved this last set,
yeah.
I so yeah, to kind of circle back to one other thing that you said about the set being small. So I think there are pros and cons, especially to the sealed play. As you said, the con was over the course of the tournament, even if it's not just you and your opponent's decks are very similar, over the course of the tournament, when you play against 3 different people or 4 different people, the decks themselves will be more similar than you're probably used to. So your round 1 opponent and your round 2 opponent might have a lot of overlap. So there's less new things popping up. On the other hand, it meant by the time I was playing my 3rd round, I did not have to read any of the cards because I knew what almost every card did because I had now seen them in my deck and in 3 of my opponent's decks. So it made it kind of eliminated the growing pains of like playing really slow because I have to read every single card my opponent puts on the table. Because by the time we got to the end of round 2 or the start of round 3, my opponent's turn 1 build, I didn't have to read a single card. Yeah. And that's a benefit, I think, sort of. So the con is everyone's decks are more similar than maybe you'd like. The pro is you know what all the cards do. So now after having played with the one end of every end of the spectrum of AOT 1 was 200 something 300 cards. Now we had some smaller sets that were like 200 cards, and then maybe some sets that are like 190 cards. Now we have this one that was 85. I can pretty confidently say I think my ideal sweet spot for a set would be like 120. And I don't know how feasible that is. I don't know. I'm sure all of the set sizes are already locked in through 2026 and maybe even through, some amount of 2027. But I think something a little larger than this set, maybe even as much as like 140. I think that is probably where it still gets back to the like, you'll never pull anything good because the 300 card set, whatever. Although what I will say, we have seen in Riftbound, 300 card set in Riftbound has not been a problem as far as you never pull anything good, but that's also because all the cards are good. It's not just.
So I was going to mention this because like we had direct back-to-back sealed experiences with an 80 card pool and a 300 card pool. Riftbound definitely had some very high highs and low lows. Like I had a pod where my pools were just terrible and like my top end just was non-existent and I just dropped after losing a second time. And then like the next one I go into, like I'm like, oh my god, my deck is insane. It's very like the variance. You could definitely feel the number of cards in that set, for sure. So I agree. There's probably a number in the 120. You could probably up it a bit, but I think when you cross like when you're getting towards 200, it's just the sets become so large and they're a pain to collect and get all the cards, and I don't really understand why we need to do them that large. But I guess they probably learned that last year they printed too many cards. I think they definitely saw that. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because they significantly cut it down this year. Like this year, we
Yeah.
have significantly fewer cards. Um, but yeah, so I really can't say enough good things about the Guilty Gear experience. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's great.
I'm a,
It is a home run. It is they hit it out of the park. Guilty Gear was my most anticipated set for this whole year, and now that it's in my hands, I can say with my whole chest, it is my favorite set. I actually think it is my favorite set since Jetburn, for sure. It absolutely favorite set in
it
2 years. So
Yeah, I'd have to think, but it's definitely up there for me for sure. Um, I will say I do like that like the tension attacks were not there's no, ultra rare tension attack that does crazy thing and draws a card or something that everyone needs. Like I appreciate that they understood that there's a danger with tension being free momentum and they did not decide to push that envelope too much, especially with things like Godzilla around. Like I like that aspect and I still think that there are exciting things to look at here and particularly the foundations. I think there's a lot of like good spam, which is something that I have felt severely lacking in recent sets.
yeah, good one diff foundations with pretty good effects with block mods you don't feel embarrassed to say out loud.
Yes. Yeah.
A too high block. You can take a too high block home to meet your parents. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
And these
Like
like
that's
commit discard a card for more benefit, like the A Promise Toast and Queen of Compassion, are really cool because it fixes you having additional cards in your hand and is like a really powerful effect with like a pretty hefty cost associated with it. I really like both of them. I love that they made Queen of Compassion the promo,
oh, that
especially since we
was
don't have those XRs anymore.
let's briefly I do want to say one thing that I have been really going back and forth on. The announcement for the pre-release or the pre-release tournament page, the prizing on the page. I haven't spoken to anybody about like who was involved in writing it about like clarification for what they thought it meant when they wrote it. But every single person who read the event page interpreted it the same way, which was apparently wrong, which is on the event page, it said participation, con promo 1 out of 3. Prizing per win, 1 pack, additional con promo 1 out of 3. 2-1 record, con promo 2 out of 3. 3-0 record, con promo 2 out of 3, and con promo 3 out of 3. That, to me, explicitly states there
It
are
does.
3 different convention promos, like promo cards. That was not the case. Queen of Compassion, the alternate art, was the only Guilty Gear promo card at the event. Well, there were also Critical Role, the wedding promos, but those were not part of the gameplay aspect. They actually didn't even have those at the gameplay area. They had those at the retail booth. Like you had to go up to like the retail sales booth where they were selling like Critical Role stuff, and then you could just like do some stuff and you could get the promo cards there. But for doing a Universes demo at the play area, you got a Queen of Compassion promo. For entering the Guilty Gear pre-release, you got a Queen of Compassion promo. And then for winning rounds of the Guilty Gear pre-release, you got additional copies of Queen of Compassion. So we did leave with, a play set of the card each for playing the 2 pre-releases and winning some rounds. So that was nice that we were able to get a playset of that card, fairly painlessly. If you engage with the game and you play, it was not difficult to get a playset of that card, right? So that is something I can appreciate. I do not appreciate how the event page was. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, extremely misleading, and I don't think it was some intentional devious prank to trick people to coming to play the pre-release for this vague mention of some very hard to get promo card that didn't exist. I'm sure some wires were crossed and something just didn't happen that was meant to happen and something or other. But even now, I'm pretty sure the event page for the pre-releases was not updated to reflect the fact that the prizing wasn't what it said. So that is kind of an oddity that I hope doesn't occur again. I would hope that the event prizing will actually be what you get moving forward for stuff like this. But
I'm assuming someone said there'd be 3 promos, and by that they meant the 2 wedding ones and the Queen of Compassion.
Yes,
and then that was put as the prizing, and then they're like, why would we give that as prizing for the Guilty Gear pre-release?
Yeah, so that was what I was eventually, I think, or I thought at some point when I was like analyzing this internally, I was like, do you have to play the Guilty Gear pre-release to get the wedding promos? Like, that would actually make no sense. So yes, that does probably sound like what happened, where there were 3 different con promos at PAX. There was the wedding promo, the 2 wedding promos, and the Guilty Gear thing. But yes, obviously it would not make any sense, to give away, to have the wedding promos be locked by the Guilty Gear pre-release. So what I will say though is, even though there were not the whatever con exclusive promo that the Phantom Con exclusive promo that that the prizing page did say, they did give more packs than the page said. Like they didn't just not give you anything. It wasn't just, they didn't just remove prizing. It was like they did what they could, and they supplemented it by giving some extra packs for the prizing. So while obviously getting a couple extra packs of the set is not quite on par with getting exclusive promos, like I would rather obviously have something a little bit more unique. I obviously appreciate that someone involved at least was like, well, we did literally say there would be more prizing, so we should give them something. So that's, the and one.
And like Tuber Win with the promo is great. Like it feels good to play it out.
Yes.
I think the first day we just didn't because we had plans and you guys
we
were
got
exhausted.
We got lost. We got 2-0'd by the 8:15 dinner reservation on Friday. So, but it's okay. Not everyone has a good matchup against everything. But
correct. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh God. Oh yeah. So one thing that we did discuss though was we were kind of having our little back and forth of like it's kind of disappointing there's only one Guilty Gear promo, like yada yada yada. And then we eventually came full circle to like, how many of these events have we been to that have had 5 promos and we've thought all of them were bad? I think we could accept that there's one promo, but it's one we think is good. Like, I'd take that, yes. Right? Like, I would rather have this of like Queen of Compassion, highly playable card, and the alt art is beautiful, versus the chibi TMNT Gen Con promos that I've put none of in my deck and never will. Right? It's 100%. Like I'd actually rather have this. So it's fine. Like that was kind of like the conclusion that we came to. So yeah. I think that about wraps it up for what I'm talking about for like the Guilty Gear pre-release aspect, unless you have something to add.
No, but go try it out, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Okay, so the final thing, or next thing, probably final thing. Yeah. The other thing I did was, as we mentioned, we played some Riftbound stuff, and then we played some Universal stuff. So Friday and Saturday, I was just in gamer jail playing sealed events. I played 2 Riftbound sealed events, then Guilty Gear on Friday, then 2 Riftbound sealed events, then Guilty Gear on Saturday. And on Sunday, I decided I've been sitting down and playing cards for 12 hours in a row, 2 days in a row. I'm not going to sign up for any events on Sunday. I'm just going to walk around, have fun at the con. So on Sunday, I met up with a few of my friends who weren't there earlier in the week, earlier in the weekend, and we just kind of did stuff. And a few of them have been playing card games with us for a while. Like they play a bunch of games, but they've never played Universes, or they haven't. Like one of them said he actually played UFS like 10 years ago, and that was a funny thing that he'd never told me that before. So it was funny listening to him talk about it. But a number of them had just never played Universes before, and I was like, oh well, we can just go to the demo area. You can get a promo, and you can try it out. And these are all people that are experienced card game players. So none of them are new to card games, but they are new to Universes. So I just kind of sat down and like watched them do their demo because it has been a long time since I have received a demo. So I didn't even really know like what the demo decks they were still using were, or like what the process was, or like what was going on. But we kind of just walked over. They both sat down, one of the demo staff sat down and did a demo with them. And it was the AOT demo decks, which I guess they've been using since AOT 1 came out, right? That's when these were wow. So it's been a year, I guess, since they've been using. Yeah. So I guess it's been a year since they've been using these. So it was the AOT demo decks, and they got to pick which one they wanted or whatever, and then they started playing. And I don't want to make this. I'm not talking about this to just complain. I'm talking about this to hopefully provide some constructive feedback on what I saw happen. First red flag for me, I have seen the demo area at other cons, like at Gen Con and stuff like that. There were no playmats at the table for this one. And when I say playmats, I mean there are the demo zoned playmats. Not that there are really zones in universes, but a playmat that has slots for your card pool that say like +1, +2, +3, whatever, and then a big area that says stage, an area that says character, stuff like that, right? There was none of that. It was just a white tablecloth. And one of the first things that happened was when the demo person was explaining to my friend, like, yeah, so you play a card from your hand into your card pool, and then he like gestured to the table. And my friend looked down at a white tablecloth and looked up and went, "What's a card pool?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, if you don't have a mat that says card pool on it, what does that mean?" It means literally nothing. And I was like, "Huh." And then it got me thinking, like, I know that these mats exist because we have them. Like, they sold them at, what was it? What was the Vegas one last year? What was it called? Do you remember?
Level Up Expo.
Level Up Expo,
That's
yeah.
my knowledge here.
Yes. So at Level Up Expo, they sold the demo mats, and we liked them because they were just plain mats with zones, and that we wanted to use or give to our friends or whatever. So we bought a couple when we were there at Level Up Expo, and we gave them to people at locals. And I was like, huh, they didn't bring any of the demo mats. Like, I'm pretty sure they even have some of them. Like, I think there were some My Hero, maybe even one of the TMNT mats has zones on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I either saw one or my mind manifested it in a dream. But I know that official mats made by Jasco / UVS Games with zones exist. I know this for a fact. In fact, I own some. So I was just confused why there weren't any here. And when I know there have been some in the past. So I was like, huh, that seems like an oversight, but whatever. And then they were playing or whatever. And then a couple of times when being told, like the rules or whatever, I think the one that stuck out to me was, and again, it's different because these are my friends that have been playing card games competitively for over 10 years. So they are able to handle a bit more complexity than probably the average person that is walking up to test a card game. Like, they've played so many games, and at this point they're in the enhance step, and the demoer says, so this is where you can use an enhance. And my friend looks at it. Oh, he says, like, this is where you can use an enhance, like on a foundation or an attack or like your character or whatever. And my friend looks down, and the attack is a blank attack with flavor text. Looks down, he has 5 foundations. 4 of them are blank with flavor text. And he's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like actually, what are you talking about? Like, it is, so now we're not only like learning about the enhanced step, which is like the most like granular version, or like the most like granular version of a card game effect window, but 5 of the 6 cards on the table don't even have text on them. So then he reads in air quotes all of his cards. He's reading the flavor text of all of his cards. By the time he gets to the fourth one, he realizes that all of these cards just have flavor text, and he's like, do these do anything? and then Demo is like, oh well, this one does, and like points to his character, which like the demo character is like commit for +4 damage or +3 damage or something. So this is the only card with text he has on the table, of like commit for plus damage or whatever. So he's like, sure, I guess I'll do that because it is the only button he can legally click. And then he does, and they keep going, whatever. And, at this point, it's the standard back and forth where we're just like, the demo is explaining the different numbers on the card. They go to the block step. It took maybe like, I wouldn't say it took maybe like 2 explanations for him to get how the block mods. Oh, this was also something. A bunch of the demo cards have +0 mid blocks. Like many of them. Many, many, many more. Actually, just to make sure I'm doing this accurately, I'm pretty sure I have a demo deck on my table next to me. I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay. The Mikasa demo deck is 2 +1 high blocks, 4 +1 low blocks, and 29 0 mid blocks. Or sorry, 28 0 mid blocks. So when we got to the block step, and he goes, yeah, so now you look at the cards in your hand with the shield and you compare the block zone. My friend's holding 4 0 mids in his hand, so they're all the same. And then he goes for the attack. Yeah, this one's a high, so you can either full block with the red shield or you can half block with the orange one. And you add the number on the shield to the speed. And he's holding 4 0 mids. What are we adding to what? Like these all say 0 on them. Like what is like, and a 0 mid is actually more or less a block mod that basically doesn't exist in our game anymore. How many cards in the game even have 0 mids? Like this is it was just so fascinating watching this happen because I hadn't seen a demo go for so long, I guess, where I was just watching this and I'm like, I just can't imagine this is even close to the best way to be teaching these mechanics. And basically, so basically the demo finishes, we stand up and he says to me something along the lines of and as I said, they picked it up probably more quickly than people who've never played card games before because they know how to hold cards and puts them in whatever places. And he goes, I think I get it, but why were all my cards blanks? Like, I didn't really feel like I was doing anything. And I was like, yeah, obviously in a constructed deck, like most of the cards aren't blanks. And then he equated it pretty accurately to like, oh, so I was just playing like a deck of just like blank vanilla monsters, like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like I just had a deck of level 4, 1500 guys with no effect. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, well, that doesn't really sound like I was playing the game. And the answer was no. He wasn't. And I understand a very, very basic introductory demo product like this needs to exist. And also, for what it's worth, the demo cards actually also have, they're also numbered. And in theory, you can play it as like a guided tutorial where you draw the cards in exact order. That was not how it was presented at this event. I thought
they always do it that way.
No, well, I also thought that until I watched the demo where I let him choose a deck and they both shuffled. So I don't. Oh, okay. And both of them did this. Like both of my friends playing the demo had this, and the option of it being ordered wasn't even given to them, which I don't know if that's supposed. Like I don't know if that's how it's always. I know that they have had guided tutorial ones in the past. I don't know if they just don't do that at all anymore, or they just only do it sometimes, or whatever. But basically, when you shuffle the AOT demo deck, it falls apart in terms of like what the gameplay loop is supposed to be. Because yes, I guess when you do a guided demo, when you're getting attacked by a 6 high and you have a 1 high block in your hand, you look at your hand of 3 cards and you pick the 1 high block. When you are playing the shuffled version of the game, as maybe it was never intended to be used, but it's how it's being used now. You look at your hand of 4 cards and you see a 1 low and 3 0 mids. There's not really a decision to be made there. But yeah, I think the guided version for people who have never played a card game before ever, to just kind of make them put the cards in the right place, I see why that exists, and I see why that would be necessary. I also think there needs to be another level of demo product, or not even like a demo specific product. I think in addition to these demo decks of vanillas being on the table, they should have a TMNT starter deck and a bow starter deck. And ask, have you played card games before? Yes. Okay, we will use the slightly more complicated ones. We will use the slightly more advanced decks. These are still not constructed decks, but they are still introductory products where your cards will do something.
Can they not use the Bakugo Midoriya ones? There's just a billion of them.
I mean, that would be fine too, but I just doubt I don't know, maybe they don't have them anymore. But yes, that would be fine too. Those, if they, there are for sure. I'm sure. That would be my ideal choice. But yes, like if you're trying to steer them in the direction of more modern, more recent products, I would say in addition to these AOT demo decks, also just shows the different IPs. I think having a Critical Role starter deck and the TMNT starter deck would probably be my best suggestion of like what I think needs to be there. But for sure, you are not going to convince the people who are on the fence about trying this new game, who already play card games, which I would argue is, I think the chance of convincing somebody who's never played a card game before to pick up universes is as close to 0% as anything I can possibly imagine. Unless they really, really, really like the IP, I truly don't think anybody who has never played a game before is going to sit down and decide, like, this is the one for me. However, I think this game, for people who have played games, people who have played card games, I think you can play this game and have the exact same reaction that the two of us did, which was, it is similar to other card games in that, like, I've played a bunch of games. I know the basics, of like the macro plan of these games, of card advantage and tempo, whatever. But the mechanics are so unique. I'm thinking about them in a different way from any other game I've played. This is interesting to me. I want to learn more and I want to try it. And I think if you hand them these vanilla AOT decks, you will never get them to play ever. Literally impossible.
Yeah.
If you hand them a constructed deck, it'll be a nightmare to teach them the rules, obviously. I'm not saying you just have 2 competitive decks and you make them play. I'm not saying you get the Deku and Hanj decks that played in the finals of the most recent event and just give them and you start playing. I'm saying that you need something that they can actually sink their teeth into that has a bit more substance. Because that was what he said to me. He said, I felt like I didn't really do anything. Like, I wasn't even really playing a game. And that is what I'm looking at these decks. I think literally 2 foundations in the deck have enhances and all the rest of them are vanillas. Yeah. There's a 3 diff that commits for +2 or -2 damage. And there's a 2 diff that commits for +2 or -2 speed. And then everything else has no text. There's even a 3 diff vanilla somehow in here. There's a 3 diff with no text. But yeah, so that would probably be, also get the zoned mats. Like, what are you doing? Like why are there not like that was I'm going to give them that was just, some sort of that wasn't intentional. Like, they should have been there because I have seen them there in the past. But that was my biggest takeaway was I couldn't believe there weren't any zone mats for the demos. And I couldn't believe that this was that they just had these decks only and nothing else. So what I will also say, my round one opponent of my Saturday Guilty Gear pre-release sat down and said, hey, I have never played a full game of this game before. And he even said, I actually didn't even have enough time to finish the demo that I played. I just really like Guilty Gear and this looked cool. So like I wanted to give it a shot. Like there were open slots and I had time, so I wanted to try it. And I went, oh, you know, that's great. And JJ, who was the head judge of the pack side events or whatever, he was actually supposed to be on his break at that time, and he was just walking by as I sat down for this, and I said, hey JJ, you know, can you help me with this? And he's sure. So JJ just sat down, and JJ and I basically gave my round one opponent a demo of the game, like of universes, using my Guilty Gear pre-release deck and his Guilty Gear pre-release deck. And this was when it clicked for me that I truly think the design behind the Guilty Gear set is just the most elegantly designed product they've probably come out with into, like, in terms of like design strength, I think it might be higher than Jetburn for me. Like, I truly think this is the best designed product I've seen from this game since I have started. And I don't think it's particularly close. And he opened 6 booster packs of Guilty Gear Strive, and we played a game with some help of JJ and I were explaining the mechanics, where like you play your foundations, yada yada yada, and he got it and he put his foundations down, and then we did it back and forth. It helped that we both happened to be playing Kai. Well, happened to be. I made sure I was playing Kai, but anyways,
of course.
like I would have not picked any other character in my packs. But yeah. So it was pretty easy to explain, like, we actually both have the same, ability on our character. So this will happen and this will happen, and they'll kind of cancel each other out on these attacks, but usually when your opponent's a different character or whatever, but he was still getting it. He's like, okay, so then he played an attack. I'm like, all right, so my attack, and he looks, he goes, okay, so Blitz, I get a Roman cancel, and he's like, oh, like, I think he asked me, like, do you have an extra one? And I was like, actually, if you flip your character around from the other characters in your packs, that's a Roman cancel token. And he goes like, whoa. And then he puts under his character. And I was like, wow, what a great set. Like what a great time. So then he's like, okay. And then he starts reading it, and he's just like, okay, so now I've done my Blitz. Like, all right, enhance. I'm going to use Kai to give it his speed, but you're probably going to use Kai. So those just cancel out. I'm like, yeah, I'll use Kai, cancel out. He's like, great. So now it's my turn again to do an enhance? I'm like, yes. And then he does his other enhance. And I'm like, these Guilty Gear cards are not simple. Like, they are complex, but they're straightforward at the same time, if that makes any sense. They do a lot, but they do a lot in a manner I think that's easy to digest. And I was extremely impressed by how smooth the experience was for my opponent, who said he had never played before. We played an actual game with just Guilty Gear sealed cards. And then the next round, I played against somebody who had been playing for years. And we also played an actual game. At a different level, obviously, than the one I had played the previous round, but we also played an actual game. And I couldn't believe what these cards were, like, able to do. And I wish there was a Guilty Gear starter product. I think that would have been the absolute perfect thing. If there was like a Guilty Gear starter deck, I would actually recommend using that for the more advanced demos until the end of time. But even so, I was so impressed by how, also impressed with, my opponent picked it up quickly, but yeah, Guilty Gear is great. I'm going to circle back and say that again. And I think the demo process probably needs some updates. I do not think a good demo has a 100% conversion rate for a player to try the game, but I think a bad demo has a 0% conversion rate for a player to try the game. So my friend that that played the demo and he said, "Oh, like the cards were kind of blank, but it was fun, I guess." He's in town for Thanksgiving, and I just texted him, "If you're free on Saturday, there's actually a Guilty Gear demo and pre-release at the locals." So I think he's gonna go with me to play the Guilty Gear pre-release, and maybe he'll enjoy it. Like, actually. So, if that pans out, because I recommended it specifically because I said I think this is honestly the actual next best step to learning the game is to play a Guilty Gear sealed pod. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, all in all, I think PAX was fun. UVS games, other than just universes, the UVS games presence at PAX with the Riftbound stuff was, pretty large. So, that was good to see everyone, and a bunch of people turned out. But I will say, just to the one like sour note for me, I guess, in the whole experience was just like the demoing and onboarding for universes, which has previously been the absolute most important aspect of these cons for UVS games, really seemed like such an afterthought that they didn't even send the playmats. And I hope that isn't a trend that continues. I hope, even if Riftbound, which obviously Riftbound's going to have more people signing up, and it's going to take more manpower and more organization. I hope that at the bare minimum we can have starter decks and demo playmats sent for the Universe's demo team, because I think it made a huge difference for like clarity, and I think for player retention. I unfortunately cannot imagine a single person wanting to continue to the next level of this game after receiving a demo in the state that they were at this event. So, which is a shame. And I'm not saying just a playmat solves everything, but it does a lot for presentation, and it doesn't make it. This looked like an afterthought, unfortunately. So, I think that's all I got. I don't know if you have anything to add to. I don't know the last time you saw anybody do demos.
I didn't get to
or
see
like
much
that,
of the demo stuff, but yeah, no, like genuinely can't say enough positive stuff about Guilty Gear. Go check out the pre-releases. Yeah, hope you guys have fun with it like we did.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So next week we will reconvene with the whole squad for I guess some maybe constructed Guilty Gear thoughts, and then also Glasgow results.
Hear about Glasgow.
Yeah,
and everything.
we decided not to touch that at all because we were playing Ripbound all weekend, and Mitch was actually in the tournament. So and Mitch actually topped the event. So we were waiting for.
He played his character. He did.
Yes, yeah. So we will wait for him to talk about anything. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.